sometimes there are slow transitions that we don't realize until it builds up enough to the point that we look at something and don't recognize it anymore. And what I mean by that, like what I'm talking about specifically, is there was a time that I woke up and realized that I didn't like myself anymore. And it was, now looking back, a really slow transition. And I don't even know that there was a specific moment that I can point to, but I do remember there was like a 3-day period during the pandemic which of course that's like when so many of our issues started, right? But there was like a 3-day period during the pandemic when I I was in bed for 3 days. Didn't really eat, didn't leave the house, didn't, go for a walk, didn't exercise. Was really just sitting in bed watching like YouTube and Netflix. And I don't even want to say I felt depressed. Like, that there are times when you clearly know you're depressed. Clearly. And then there are other times where it's just like, you just don't really feel like doing anything. You feel like you don't have any motivation. You feel like you don't really have any reason to get up. Not quite as intense as like I don't really feel like I have a reason to be here, but just everything feels kind of meh. And I got to that point, like I said, a few years ago during the pandemic. Hated my job. I was doing like kind of a crazy commute at the time. I think I was driving at least, actually not even driving. I had to wake up at like 4:45 to be to work by 7 a.m. And about an hour and a half of that was like active transit. My commute back was at least an hour and a half. And the job itself, like, it was something that I'd been doing for a long time. It just, it was already a stressful job. It was just a lot. It was a lot. I realized that I had started gaining weight, and a lot of the clothes that I used to love wearing didn't fit anymore. I felt like I had lost a bit of my sense of adventure. So, so a sense of adventure, and like, I don't know, one of the words I used to use to describe myself, you're like getting to know somebody and you ask the question like, what 3 words would your family use to describe you? Or what 3 words would you use to describe yourself? One of the words I used to use was eclectic, because I was into a lot of different things. My style, I felt, was like cute and colorful, and I was into like prints and like mixing things that probably, I think most people probably wouldn't put together. Um, so yeah, couldn't really fit the clothes that I used to love wearing. So I was kind of wearing the same thing over and over and over again, kind of like now, to be honest. And I feel like I lost a sense of adventure. Like, that also used to be one of the words that people would describe me as, because I'd be doing random sports. I'd be traveling, sometimes with people, sometimes not. I don't know. There were so many things that felt like the pieces weren't coming together anymore and I didn't recognize myself. It just, it felt like a departure from myself, I guess. And yeah, when you put all those pieces together, it's like, who is this? And I've been doing some thinking about why that happened because I feel like I'm at a point where I'm getting back to that. And I think it boils down to the fact that there are a lot of things that we feel like define who we are, the type of person we are, what we like doing, and they're circumstantial. Like those identifiers only exist because of the circumstances that we happen to be in. But when the circumstances change, all the little things that make you you, that are resting on top of those circumstances, it's like like pulling 2 blocks out of the bottom of a Jenga tower. What is the tower sitting on? You know, it gets real sketchy up there when the foundation is rocked. And then you're left with like, who is Alexis when the circumstances change? Who are you when there's a pandemic and you can't really see your friends? Who are you when a relationship ends? Who are you when you have to make a sudden move? Who are you when a global pandemic strikes the earth, the entire earth? Not even like it's just a country or a region. It just, the whole planet is under lockdown for the most part. What do you do? And that's what I've been thinking about because, again, I feel like I'm getting back to a place where it's not just like I recognize myself, but I really like the version of myself that's starting to come back, and the new version of myself, I guess. And I was trying to figure out why that was. That way, if I ever get to a point where I don't really like myself, I can put this all back together. And also maybe prevent it from happening in the first place. So I think I figured it out, at least for myself. So let's talk about it. As if we haven't been talking about it for the last 8 minutes and 35 seconds. I took notes. So some of the pillars of our identity, right? They're anchored internally. They belong to you. You embody them regardless of what's happening around you. So I think like, well, we'll get there. Whereas other pillars of our personality are anchored to things that are outside of us. They're external. So you think they really only exist because another person is around, or there's something else that's like kind of constant in your life, but it's not you specifically. So I'll give you some examples. If your identity is anchored in you being a wife, for example, if something happens to your husband, let's say your husband passes away, or something like that, you in the relationship, whatever, you're grieving the relationship, you're grieving your husband, you might be grieving the future that you wanted or were going to have with him, but you're also grieving like that identifier, that like pillar of yourself. You're grieving a piece of yourself, not just like, a husband and wife should be one flesh, but like it's a core piece of you that now does not exist unless you get remarried, and but just that's a core piece of yourself that's not there anymore. Or if part of your identity is I'm I'm a project manager for Oracle, timely, and you lose that job, or you're a mechanic, or you're a seamstress, like whatever, it really doesn't matter. If there's a core part of your identity that's anchored firmly in your job, and something happens to that job, who are you? It's so easy to lose yourself when the circumstances change. If, a core part of your identity is that you play a sport professionally for whatever team, and then you get injured. Which, side note, pause. If you guys watch Love is Blind, what's the one dude's name? The one that got paired up with the blonde lady, the like pretty blonde lady. All he talked about was his failed soccer career. All that man talked about was his failed soccer career and how he was a nomad. He's 10 years removed from 10 plus years removed from the fact that he didn't get drafted playing soccer, and he's still like a core part of his identity still is soccer player. And then you see how the internet is like, bro, we get it. But anyway, that's beside the point. If y'all don't watch Love is Blind, that's like a weird reference, but I feel like that's such a good example because yeah, that like I'm one of those people that watches like reactions of certain shows, because I don't know, I like to get other perspectives. I like to take in the information just from somebody else's lens. And so many people after that were calling him like the ex-soccer player, which is like, that man that had 15 bajillion jobs, done moved and lived in however many states and countries all over the world, and the thing that everyone knows him as is, well, one, the liar, but also the fact that he's an ex-soccer player. Anywho, wild if you ask me. But going back to the point. So based on those like external anchors versus internal anchors, I think for me, kind of without realizing it, but now that I know, I feel like I kind of have the cheat code, is the question isn't just like, okay, how do I get back to myself? It's like, which parts of myself were really mine to begin with? So it took a minute. It took about 4 years. I'm not going to lie. 4 years of not feeling great about myself, which, by the way, if you're at a point where you don't like yourself, terrible time to get into a relationship. Like I know there are real life examples of it happening, but it is so rare where there's like specifically a woman who doesn't like herself, doesn't feel like herself, talks down about herself, and finds a man who just sees the light in her and picks her up, dusts her off, treats her like a princess. And then, you know, I I was just watching. The other thing you should know about me is I kind of have a thing for bad and bad-ish movies. And I was watching Why Did I Get Married? And the one character who, like, in the beginning of the movie, her husband was talking so bad about her being, I'm really veering off on this in this video, but we're circling back around. You'll get the point. The one lady, Jill Scott's character, where her husband was talking about how overweight she was and how no good she was and he was cheating on her and all that stuff. She would talk so bad about herself. And then she was like at the little shop up in the mountain, and the policeman, you know, got to know her and thought she was just the most amazing thing ever. And they were sitting at breakfast after she broke up with her husband. And he, you know, she's talking bad about herself and how she needs to lose weight and all this stuff and how broken she is. And he's like, you're amazing. Don't say that about yourself. You can do X, Y, Z. I see this beautiful, confident woman. And then they get married, and like 3 years later, they've had a baby and moved down the mountain, and she loves herself and she's lost the weight, and they were working out together, and then her husband is jealous. That very rarely happens. I say all that to say that's a Tyler Perry movie. Figure out how to like and love yourself first before you try to get into a relationship. Because let me tell you, oh, so bad when you do that to yourself. But anyhow, yeah, so back to the point. It took some genuine thought, but what I personally landed on for myself is like my internal anchors are the adventure, the eclecticism, being eclectic, and then kind of doing things that most people would consider unconventional, maybe a little odd, but just things that other people probably wouldn't do. And it's not even that, I don't think I do it super intentionally. It's just, I don't know. I'm one of those people that's like, I've never seen anyone do this. I want to be the first, you know? I'm going to be the first person that people who know me know doing this random thing. I don't know, but that's what I landed on. And then there is a piece of me that feels like I need to be giving in some way, which I don't even want to say in some ways, it is kind of anchored in the people that are around me. Or else it's like there's a lack of fulfillment, kind of. And that one I have to think about deeper, because granted, I don't think there will ever be a time where I'm lacking in people to help, or I'm lacking for people who, you know, could use some positivity in their lives or use some hope for the future or things like that. But I do feel like it's a core part of my personality, and I'm trying to rack my brain around that, to be honest. So I think if you're in that place, what I wish I had done years ago is taking stock of who I am when nobody else is around. Like when everything external is stripped away. Not my job, not my relationship status, not the size my body happens to be. Who am I? What's underneath all that? It can be a kind of revealing thought process, but I think it's important. Circumstances change so quick. If the last couple of years have taught us anything, circumstances can change so gosh doggone quick. And it sucks for your circumstances, to kind of go down the toilet, and for you to also, or even if they don't go down the toilet and they just change, it also sucks to like not feel like yourself. Like within yourself, you're like, it's just uncomfortable. And that's kind of the point that I got to. And I guess lastly, while I have realized that this is, the thought process, the work that is working for me to get back to where I was, to like I really liked myself, I still feel like I have work to do. And that's also an interesting place to be. Yeah. So that's where I am now. It's slowly building things up piece by piece. That's me getting back in the gym, going back to my spin classes, feeling active again, wearing things that make me happy regardless of the size of my body. Still working on that one, by the way. Adventuring a bit more, even if it's more in town, but I think like this most recent trip helped a lot. Yeah. So I guess for you, like what's something that outside of everyone else you really feel like is you, is a cornerstone of you? So interesting. I'm interested to hear. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are still in this, even though we're a few years removed from the pandemic. Yeah. So that's it. Not gonna keep rambling, y'all. Yeah. So if you don't know, my name is Alexis. I post every single day here on YouTube, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Also, if you're a regular viewer, you may or may not have noticed that I got a new mic, and I clipped it. Let me know if the volume was okay, because I clipped it this time. It's supposed to be a higher quality mic, and I don't know. It's weird not like having things in my hands. I feel like I can I can do whatever in these videos now. Yeah, so we'll see how it works. Also, I got one that I think technically my other mic, like two mics can be connected at the same time, but this one is like made for multiple mics to be connected at the same time. And one of my friends messaged me. We're going to be seeing each other in the next few weeks, and she was like, we should do a video together. Maybe we can do like an interview style video. Maybe we can do this and we can do that, and like we can. I was like, okay, I love it. I love that my friends support me in this way. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. If you don't know, my name is Alexis. I post here every single day on YouTube. I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.